This definitely has some challenges for everybody. Okay, we're going to get started in 1 second. Just let me change the parameters here for everybody. Okay, everybody's on mute now. And, okay, I think we're ready to roll. Whoops, except my cameras. I'm flashing in and out. Let's see what can be done about that. Hold on a second. There we go. All righty. Good to see everybody. And I guess, Chambaka, you're going to dance for us again? Yep. All right. All right, so we're going to chant Jai Radhamadhava. Thank you all for joining us an hour earlier, and I think we're going to stick with this time. Actually, we have quite a few people, unless I receive a lot of complaints about it. Let me pin Champaka in the middle here so everyone can see her. And we'll chant Jai Radhamadhava. Jaya, what? Dancing with a baby? It's going to be kind of hard. Anyway. Jaya Radhamadhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Malabha Girivaradhauti Gopi Jana Balabha Girivaradhauti Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jai Hurad Madhava Kunja Bihahuti Jai Rad Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivaradhauti Gopi Jana Balabha Girivaradhauti Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radhamadhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya All Stuteta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopata Sayam Kund Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Vichuradam ki jai, Jagannatha Swami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Srimati Tulasi Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarane Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, let's start with the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, I wanted to say a few words. I guess I just heard something really interesting, the memory, Srila Prabhupada's memory that Jayadvaita Maharaj was talking about. And I think it's really instructive. It was really a nice little tidbit from Srila Prabhupada. Once upon a time, and this is actually interesting for all of you who are doing worship or have pictures of your spiritual master, Prabhupada was showing some different pictures of the different acharyas. Not only Prabhupada, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gorkashoras Babaji Maharaj, and and Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc. So one thing that Prabhupada commented about all these pictures were actually just done from the chest on up. And Prabhupada said, he called them bust pictures. Now bust pictures means, like if you have, a bust is actually like a sculpture of someone's head and shoulders. And Prabhupada said, what is this bust pictures? What are these bust pictures? He said, when you have a picture of the spiritual master, it should be full body, because you want the lotus feet. And I thought that was really instructive. I was looking at my altar right here. Actually, I have a bust picture of Prabhupada. And I was telling the devotees, I actually have pictures of all my godbrothers who passed away. My godbrother friends who passed away. They're all full body pictures. And I have one picture of Prabhupada, which is full body. Prabhupada sitting down. So when we have pictures of the spiritual master, it was Prabhupada's instruction. The picture should be full body, either standing up, sitting down, like that. So I thought that would be interesting for the devotees who have pictures on the altar or pictures in their house. That, yes, every time Prabhupada had a picture, it was actually a full body picture of a great acharya. Okay. Anyway, little information for you. And, oh, someone is chatting here. This is much better for me. Thank you, Gurudev. Whatever that means. Much better for him. Okay. Anyway, you just say part of me. That's because I am not a devotee. Actually, someone wrote me a letter today. Let's see if he's on here. Someone wrote me a letter today, and this person asked me, are you a pure devotee? Tell me now or forever hold your peace. I don't know if he's online right now. He said, tell me now, forever hold your peace. Well, that's a really weird question to ask someone. And, it's like a catch-22 thing. If you say you're a pure devotee, then you're not. And then he'll say, well, you're not. And then if you say, I'm not a pure devotee, then he'll think, oh, you're just being humble or something like that. So anyway, whatever. I will answer in the way that God answered when Moses saw him. I am that I am. Oh, he sent me a message. He said, I only asked you if you were a pure devotee of Prabhupada. Anyway, he just sent me a private message, so it should be nameless. who is. If I'm pure devotee of Prabhupada, I am trying my best to please Prabhupada. That's all I can say. I'm definitely not a pure devotee of Donald Trump. I can tell you that. Anyway, so let's go on to the Bhagavad Gita. I am that I am. Whoever I am, I am. And I am that I am, I am, I am. And you have to take me for whoever I am. Okay, on that happy note, so anyway, so that's an important part, important understanding of how to picture the spiritual master, full body picture, because you don't want to lose the feet. Cut off the feet of the spiritual master. Okay, let us continue with the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Karunamai, it's good to see you. Karunamai is in the UK, and she is the most expert cowgirl in the Krishna consciousness movement. So we're continuing to study the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, and we're up to text 27, which you can all read along with me. And so, Om Ganati Vidandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshun and Medita Yena Tasmai Shigurveda Maha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So this is another very important verse. 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is filled with so many verses that are important for us to memorize. So, Yat karoshi yadashnashi yasjohoshi dadasi yat yat tapashasi konteha tat kurushva madarpanam yat whatever karoshi you do, yat whatever ashnashi you eat, yat whatever johoshi you offer, dadasi you give away, yat whatever tapashasi austerities you perform, konteya O son of Kunti, tat that, Kurishva do, mat unto me, arpanam as an offering. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. That's pretty inclusive. Eating, working, offering, giving away, austerities you perform, do that as an offering to Krishna. So what that means basically is not only you do it as an offering to Krishna, but you actually have the mentality that you're doing it as an offering to Krishna. It's one thing to do it, but if your mentality is thinking of something else, or you're doing it because it's a ritual, this is not what Krishna is describing in this verse. You should be thinking, as you're doing your activities, please, Krishna, accept this, I want to please you. Purport. Thus it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra around his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What verses Prabhupada referred to? Remember? Yoginam api sarvesham madgatain antaratmana shadavan bhajate yoma sa me yuktatamo mataha. Whereas Krishna says, of all yogis he who meditates on me with great and transcendental faith is considered to me, by me, to be the topmost of all yogis. So what this verse actually means, like Prabhupada said in the beginning of the purport here, everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. So many of you have jobs, and your job may not be specifically in the temple. Probably not. And so if you're thinking while you're doing the job that I am working to make money, because jobs are usually there to make money. Very few people work without getting paid, except for some surrendered Hare Krishna devotees. Just like in the United States now, this is an interesting phenomenon. We're trying to do some construction. So I tell the contractor I'm working with, who's a very nice man from Punjab, come on, we need more workers here. And he said, actually, it's really hard to get workers now. Why? Because the government is giving people money for not working. So if they can make as much money or more money by not working, they're going to not work. So that's a problem. So anyway, so when you're working for money. So money is the fruit of your work. Of course, there may be other fruit too, but in this particular case, the example we're using is the money is the fruit of your work. So while you're making your money, whatever you're doing to make your money, whether it's in construction, whether it's in Wall Street, whatever you're doing, if you're thinking and practically doing that, we're engaging that money in Krishna's service. Now, let's say you have a family to maintain. Okay, many of you have families. Families means children, wife, etc. So you're thinking, I am making money to maintain my family, to help my family progress in spiritual life, because that's the ultimate goal. Just like you put petrol or gasoline, depending on your country, into the car. The reason you're putting petrol or gasoline into the car is so the car will go. And the reason the car is going, or not going, working, the reason the car is working, or you want the car to work and the car will go, is because you have a destination. So really, the whole point is the destination. Not the petrol, not the process of putting it in, and not even the process of driving. The goal is your destination. So what is your destination? As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Manasa Deha Geha Yokishamor Arpilam Tuyapari Nanakishore. My destination, or your destination, because I obviously don't have family, other than so many submissive disciples. I lost count of them because you can't count zero. Anyways, that's a joke. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said he had 4 disciples, 2 hands and 2 legs. So anyway, let's say you have family. So the purpose of the family is to bring them to Krishna. Just think about it. You should really drill down, and I often talk about this point of the word why. Like, why am I doing this? Okay, just say, I'm working a job. I'm taking your position. This is a rhetorical type of statement. Rhetorical means I'm teaching you even though it doesn't apply to me. So, I'm working a job. Why? To make money. Why? You're drilling down with why. So, I can feed my family and pay the mortgage on my house. Why? So they won't starve. Why? So why, ultimately? Because I want them to be Krishna conscious. So everything that should be connected to Krishna in this way, at least indirectly connected to Krishna, and then you're fulfilling the purport of this particular verse. Yat karoshi yadashnashi, yad jahoshi dadasi, yat yatapasushi kantiya tat puruswa madarpanam. Everything you do, everything you offer, and everything you give away, and all sacrifice and all stuff you perform are done as an offering to Krishna. So in other words, your ultimate why for any activity is to please Krishna. Although it may not be apparent to others that you're acting to please Krishna. But ultimately, that is the motivation. And you're actually doing it. So, then you are a meditator, not someone who just sits for hours and hours. You know, I've seen people who can just sit for hours and hours in a state of trance, sleep, I don't know what, coma, and Krishna's not very pleased with that. Unless you're a devotee and you can't do any service externally, then you actually can do it internally. But otherwise, it's considered the mode of ignorance, because as Krishna states later on in the Gita, those who put off for tomorrow what can be done today, that's mode of ignorance. That's the termination of those in the mode of ignorance. Okay. So next verse, text 28. Shubha Shubha Palarevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanahai Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mam Upaishasi. Shubha from auspicious, Ashubha and inauspicious. Palai results, Evam thus, Mokshase you will become free, karma of work, Bandhanahai from the bondage, Sannyasa of renunciation, Yoga the yoga, Yukta Atma, having the mind firmly set on, Vimuktaha, liberated, Mam. To me, Upaishasi, you will attain. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me and this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. And also, it's very important, I want to mention this as part of this whole discussion. You have to find some work you can fix your mind on for Krishna. Even if it's working at a job and making money, that's fine. As long as the results go to Krishna and you have the intention of giving the results to Krishna and you're engaging everybody who partakes of the fruits of your work, like the money, your family, and everything like that, that's very good. That's very good. But you have to find something you can be absorbed in, which is an important part of being happy. We talked about how to be happy in a previous class, and one important part is to actually be in the zone, which means to be absorbed in whatever work you're doing, and also to have some purpose. That's the why factor again. A life without purpose is a wasted life. So anyway, if you're able to do that, and you should pick some work you have to do in accordance with your psychophysical nature. This morning in class, the topic of Varnashram was brought up, and Varnashram is very simple. Everybody makes it so complex by throwing in all these different rituals that came from thousands of years ago. All these different rituals. I mean, they're rituals that were necessary in those days and ages, like sannyasis dressed in deerskin. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that conception of sannyasis dressed in deerskin. He refused to see one great devotee, Brahmananda Bharati, who was dressed in deerskin. He was actually a godbrother of his spiritual master. He refused to see him. And that's there in Varnashram, or there are other things in Varnashram. Like if a Kshatriya meets a lady and the lady's interested in him, he has to accept her. I mean, that's ridiculous nowadays. Those are just injunctions that were time, place, and manner injunctions, just details. But the essence of Varnashram is you have a specific nature, you're Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, which we talked about many times before, and just engage that nature and give the results to Krishna and do it devotionally as you're doing it. It's perfection. Then you're a real sannyasi. Not someone who does no work or lights no fire or sits and chants Om and meditates on his belly button the whole day long. What a useless endeavor. One who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called Yukta Vairagya. I'll explain that, which I've explained many times before. Vairagya, the word means to be without passion. Okay. Vairagya, without passion. Passion means the desire to enjoy something, to possess something or someone. You know, in lust, you desire to possess something or someone. That's lust. People should say, instead of saying, I love you, they should say, I lust you. I want to possess you, use you. Anyway, sorry about that one. So vairagya means without that desire, vairagya. And yukta means connected. Okay. So basically what it means, to be connected to Krishna by using things in this world without the desire to enjoy them. Now what that practically means is that, let's say, one is married with a family. So generally people think, oh, the family is meant for my enjoyment. Of course, they're really disappointed after a while. And then they just have to go to the bar and drown out their disappointment. But anyway, they may think, people do things for their enjoyment. But as the song goes, does the chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? And I'm not going to sing that song for you. What that basically means, when you first get the chewing gum, it's great. It's sugar, fruit flavor, and you chew it, and you chew it, and you chew it, and guess what? Ain't no more flavor there. Really? I'm sure we've all experienced that with gum. Then you have to get another piece of gum, and another piece of gum, and a different flavor gum, because you got tired of that one flavor. So Prahlad Maharaj actually talks about this. He says, Adanta gopir vishatam tamishram punak punas char vitachar vananam. In this material world, people have uncontrolled senses. In spite of getting good advice, then what they are engaged in is chewing the already chewed. Or as the famous Acharya Albert Einstein says, insanity, he defines insanity, as to think by doing the same thing, you'll get a different result. Science applies also in life. So, anyway, so yukta vairagya means to use things without the desire to exploit them, enjoy them, etc., like that. So let's get back to the point. So let's say someone has a family, and they're thinking, yes, my duty is to help them, to do the best thing for them. Of course, feed them, clothe them, and all that other nice stuff, and help them come to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, what's the purpose? There is no purpose. Just to live for the sake of living, just to eat for the sake of eating, or to, as described in the Bhagavatam, to live a long life like the trees. I mean, what's the purpose of living like a tree? It has a long life. Not every tree, but many trees, thousands of years old. What's the purpose of living like a beast? Just like in my house here, I have these pet squirrels who I feed every day. And what is the purpose of their life? Of course, nowadays their purpose is to take prasadam and take a human birth in the next life. But normal squirrels, what is the purpose? Just eat, sleep, mate, have some little baby squirrels, and then after that, die. And the squirrel life is all over. So anyway, let's hear about this yukta vairagya. The technical term is yukta vairagya, which I explained. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows. Anashaktasya vishayani yataram upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchate. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called yukta vairagya. So I explained what it means to give the fruits to Krishna. It doesn't mean you just give all your money to the Hare Krishna temple. Of course, that would be nice, since I'm here. But it doesn't mean that. It means that All the fruit should be utilized in some way or other in Krishna's service, either in your own home, in the temple, to bring people to Krishna, to print books about Krishna so people can come to Krishna. Somehow or other, everything, this is called dovetailing. Everything can be dovetailed in Krishna's service. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind, and as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's gradual. Sometimes we find people force others or try to force others to be surrendered when they're not surrendered. To surrender. No. Surrender has to be by attraction. Like we have the word Krishna. Krishna means the most attractive. Krishna. What does Krishna mean? Krishna means to attract or pull. And na means ananda. It also means to negate suffering too. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. But by this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahmajyoti, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mam Upaishasi, he comes to me back home, back to Godhead. There are 5 different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting his body, go back to God and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Okay. There's different types of liberation, like Sayuja Mukti, which is not technically 100% liberation, which means merging in the existence of the Lord. Salokya Mukti, living on the same planet as the Lord. Sarupya Mukti, having the same form as the Lord. Sharshti, having the same opulence as the Lord. Samipya, associated with the Lord. So anyway, so there's different types of liberation which Prabhupada has mentioned here. However, another point is, a pure devotee, his liberation is simply loving Krishna. A pure devotee doesn't desire any of these different types of liberation, even though they're very attractive. Pure devotee of Krishna, in Vrindavan. Got to make that specific. A pure devotee of Krishna in Vrindavan simply wants Krishna to be happy. Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant, dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. So that's what a sannyasi is. Actually, the word sannyasi, let's analyze that word. Sannyas. A nyasi is someone who gives up. Just gives up. There's nothing positive about it. A sung, like sankirtan, means complete, or with others, or with, or accepting something. So sannyasi means someone who accepts everything to please Krishna and gives up everything that doesn't please Krishna. So that's a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. So that's the consciousness we have to cultivate. I'm an eternal servant, and whatever Krishna wants, I will do. If he wants me to go back to Godhead, if he wants me to go to hell, if he wants me to stay here, wants me, okay, whatever Krishna wants. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as a service to the Lord. That means even your work in your workplace, think like that. We're doing it as a service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas, like karmakanya. We talked about that before. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. But although a pure devotee was completely engaged in the service of the Lord, may sometimes appear to go against prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so. Let me explain. There's different rituals in the Vedic literatures, and the pure devotee doesn't have to do those. Why? He's watering the root of the tree so he doesn't have to water the leaves. But he's not against those things. For different shlokas, for different folks. What does that mean, shlok? It means different verses in the Vedic literatures may apply to different people according to their status. But if someone is actually on the pure devotional platform, he doesn't have any duty to perform anything not to do. He does everything spontaneously. It is said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. The exact words are Tandravakya Kriya Mudra Vigyeha Na Bhujhaya. It's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 23rd chapter, text 39. So don't think you're going to understand. Like someone like Prabhupada, you don't really understand like what is going on internally. I mean, you understand he's compassionate, you understand he's trying to save us, you understand he loves Krishna. But if you try to, let's say, project your mundane mentality, mundane intelligence on Prabhupada and try to understand, who is he in the spiritual world, like that, and what is he thinking now, then you may be in trouble. But at least you should try to understand his intention insofar as it applies to you. In other words, what would Prabhupada want you to do at this specific time? And that's a devotee. Like in the question that the person asked me, who should remain nameless, who's in Hawaii right now, is, are you a pure devotee of Prabhupada? So really what that means is that you ask Prabhupada, or you ask your understanding of Prabhupada, what he would want if he were here externally, what he would want from you, or me in that particular case. And then you make your decision based upon that priority. So that's what it means to be a pure devotee. Simple thing. It doesn't mean that you're experiencing ecstasy, rolling on the ground and ecstasy all the time, crying out 24 hours a day, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. No. Do something practical. Just like that story of my godbrother, Vishal, who was married actually to a girl named Vishalini, anyway. Prabhupada was very humorous. I'll tell you a story about Prabhupada's humorous names in a second. But it was in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada would come for his morning walk, and Vishal would be outside glorifying Prabhupada, say, oh, glories to Prabhupada, oh, glories to Prabhupada, oh, glories to Prabhupada. And then one morning Prabhupada said, do something practical. Because Prabhupada noticed the temple was dirty at that point. So I told you I will tell you an interesting, funny story about Prabhupada. So once upon a time, a person joined the Krishna consciousness movement with a bunch of his disciples. Actually, this is a Hawaii story. I won't mention names. But he had already initiated all these devotees, boys and girls with spiritual names. And so he turned all these boys and girls over to his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. And as he turned all these boys and girls over to his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada gave them new names. And their old names were actually, really like Vrindavan names, like Radha, Lalita, Vishaka. And Prabhupada gave some of them names, Durga, Maya, Mahamaya. And when the devotees actually started to laugh, and they thought it was funny, Prabhupada said, this is not funny. Mahamaya is actually the expansion of Srimati Radharani, and she's a pure devotee of Krishna. Anyway, it's an interesting story. It didn't have anything to do with the verse, but came to mind. A person who's thus always engaged in the service of the Lord, who is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord, is to be considered completely liberated at present. And in the future, his going back home, back to Godhead, is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticism just as Krishna is above all criticism. Wow. And Prabhupada speaks about that too in the Nectar instruction. Wow. It's very similar. Where Prabhupada makes this statement that a person who never falls down from the practice of Krishna consciousness and is always thinking how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada said he's a Mahabhagavat, a first-class devotee, Prabhupada said. This is interesting. This is a functional definition of someone who is a first-class devotee of the Lord. Is above all criticism. Another very important verse. Wow. Chapter 9 is full of all these important verses. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. Sama, equally disposed, aham, I, sarvabhuteshu, to all living entities, na, no one, me, to me, dveshati, hateful, asti is na, noa, priya, dear, yea, those who, bhajanti, render transcendental service to, but, mam, me, unto me, bhaktya, in devotion, mai, are in me, te, such persons, teshu, in them, cha, also, api, certainly, aham, I. Here Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Now the reason that Krishna can be equal to everyone is because he doesn't need anything from anyone. Now, we in this world are not equal to everybody. I'll give you an example. Let's say if some very rich man, you say Bill Gates, were to walk in this room, we would all stand up and offer obeisances or whatever. Because he has money. So we're partial. We have some partiality. We're partial to people who do something for us. We're partial to members of our family. We're partial to people who are Americans or whatever nationality we are. We're partial to people the same gotra. We have all this partiality. Of course, that partiality is illusion, Maya. But in any case, it's based upon how someone pleases us, what someone does for us. But for Krishna, who is Swarat, independent, and Aptakama gets whatever he wants without anyone's being asked, he has no reason to be partial to anyone. He actually loves everyone. You know, when Krishna says, that person is a friend in me, Krishna ultimately is everyone's friend anyway. And Krishna is reciprocating, getting back to the fourth chapter of Bhagavadgita, ye yatamam prapajante tam sataiva bhajameham. Krishna simply reciprocates with everybody. Nobody gets special mercy. You know, sometimes you hear this about a devotee, that this devotee got very special mercy from the Guru or from Krishna. But there's no question of special mercy unless one is deserving of special mercy. Just like in the business. Okay, let's say someone is, someone is a car finance person. We know people who do that. You know, they're financing cars. And at the end of the month, or end of 6 months, or end of the year, they get a bonus. Now, do they get a bonus because they're special? No, they get a bonus because they outperformed the other salesman or the other whatever it is in the business. That's natural. So it's based upon your devotion that Krishna reciprocates with you in a particular way. So if you reciprocate with Krishna as an enemy, Krishna will treat you like that, even though he loves you still. He will treat you like that. So Krishna is equal. Prabhupada is equal to everyone. Everyone has equal opportunity. It's not because you are of a certain race or certain gender or certain nationality or a certain level of intelligence that you have less or more mercy. It's simply because of your heart. Equal opportunities for everybody. Okay? So, very important verse. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it's natural. Any man in other words, everyone has the opportunity to become his devotee. We're not holding that back. Anybody, we welcome the whole world. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son. And so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud that pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives special attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They're always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they're always transcendently situated in Krishna. The very phrase, Krishna consciousness, suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, Mai te, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words, Yeta mam prapajante tam sada taiva vajamyaham. That's exactly the verse I quoted like 3 minutes ago. As they approach me, I reciprocate in the same way. Yeta mam prapajante tam sada taiva vajamyaham. Whoever surrenders, Prabhupada here uses the word surrenders unto me, which is basically the verse says approaches me. Proportionately, I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a gold ring, it looks very nice. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when the living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. Very interesting. In other words, God's not a person. He just is a image or whatever, energy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity, but in the personalist philosophy there is. So our whole life is just reciprocation, like giving to Krishna, Krishna giving to us, loving Krishna, Krishna loving us. A very interesting verse from the Bhagavatam in this connection is Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam Sadhanam Hridayam Twaham Maranyat Tena Janati Naham Tevyo Managapi, where Krishna says, the saints, and I've quoted this verse before in the Gita class, the saints are in my heart. And in reciprocation, Krishna says, he says, I am in the, sorry, I have to start again. He said, I am in the hearts of the saints. And in reciprocation, the saints are in my heart. And he says, because the saints do not know anyone else but me, that's Krishna, as theirs, I, Krishna, do not know anyone else but the saints as mine. It's love. You can control Krishna by your love. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. But everybody can be a devotee. Everybody at heart is a devotee, but they just haven't recognized it yet. We are like a person who has amnesia. That's all. And we've left our home. But as soon as we go back home, Dad takes care of us. It's like when I joined the Hare Krishna movement. My father didn't take care of me anymore. But anyway, my Supreme Father took care of me. That's Krishna, so I was all right. It's actually true. When I was home, my father would just like lavish whatever money I wanted, sports cars and airplanes, anything I wanted. It was just like Aladdin's lamp. But as soon as I left home, the well dried up. But then I got the unlimited well of Krishna's mercy. And later on, my father appreciated it. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is a manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. Remember, this whole discussion today began with Yat Karoshi Yadashnashi Yajahoshi Dadasiyat Yatapashashi Kontiya Tat Kurashwa Madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever sacrifice you perform should be done for me, Krishna says. So you're giving everything to Krishna. As we mentioned yesterday, as Prabhupada said, Krishna doesn't see how much you give, he sees how much you're holding back. You know, if you have $1 million and you give $1, not very impressive. But if you have $1 and you give $1, extremely impressive. So Krishna sees what you're holding back. And if you give everything to Krishna, Krishna gives himself to you. It's as simple as that. Isn't that the greatest gift, to get Krishna? Amazing. Okay, so I think we're going to end here. And we're going to take questions at this point, because I like to. We have 30 people watching today, which is nice. Let me open up the screen for questions. Give me 1 second. All right. You can ask questions now. Who has a question? Nobody. The lady Kant. All right. Ask your question.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much.
Haribol.
Thanks, class. Gurudev, as you were explaining that as we are doing job and if we have that mood that we are looking after family, raising them, giving them facility in the mood that we are doing it for Krishna so that they so Gurudev, is there any like I can live life simply like way I'm living at the moment, but still I'm working 5.5 days a week. I mean, that is employers need as well. And so how should I look at it? Like I can definitely work for 3-4 days a week and then do more direct service.
Maybe you should work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. The whole point isn't the hours you work, or you shouldn't make that discrimination between direct and indirect service.
Okay. All right.
By taking care of Vaishnavas, and as far as I remember, your family is Vaishnavas, right?
Except me.
Oh, except you. Okay. So don't take care of yourself. Just take care of your wife and daughter. So anyway, it's not a question of how many hours or direct or indirect service you're working. It's a question of whether you're giving everything to Krishna by your activities. I mean, that's the whole question. Are you giving everything to Krishna? You could be working 24 hours a day and giving everything to Krishna, or you could be working 1 hour a day and not giving anything to Krishna. But of course, you should be practical insofar as taking care of your own health and welfare.
Okay.
I mean, you have to be well balanced. As Krishna says in the Gita, the yogi is not he who eats too much, eats too little, sleeps too much, sleeps too little, but is moderate in all of his activities. You understand?
Yes.
It's important. So it's not a question how many days you should work every week. Just ask your wife those questions.
Okay.
Wife is the boss. All right. So who else has a question?
Thank you, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Madhav Das.
Madhva, good to hear from you.
Hare Krishna. So I have a question which is in two parts, and so it starts, is there many limbs of devotional service? Is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a devotional service? That's the question, part
Yes.
one. Okay,
Yes, it
and
is.
then if it is, yeah, so if it is devotional service chanting, then how would one rank among various limbs of actually devotional service? It is highest, middle, lowest. Yeah, that's the next part of the question.
Well, the whole point is, as far as priority, I'm not going to try to sort of rate each limb of devotional service, but as far as priorities, the first priority is to chant or engage in your regulated chanting, the 16 rounds, and of course following the four regulated principles and have good sadhana. I was actually, yeah, it was another memory I heard today in that regard. Prabhupada came to New York, and Prabhupada asked, is there was a person who was running the press, printing Prabhupada's books. He asked, is he coming to the program? And Jayadvaita Maharaj replied, no, he's not coming to the temple programs. And Prabhupada said, tell everybody to close the press. And he sent Jayadvaita Maharaj to tell everybody to close the press. Ultimately, they didn't close the printing press. But Prabhupada was making the point, what is the use of everything unless we actually develop a taste for hearing and chanting? There's actually a verse in the Bhagavatam that states this. Dharma swanastita pumsam vishvakshena katasu yad notpariyad yadiratim shama eva kevalam. What's the use of everything you do if you don't develop a taste for hearing and chanting? So that's really the point. So it's not that one is better than the other, but the chanting is the first priority, and everything is based on chanting. If we don't chant, then the service is not accepted by Krishna at that point.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
So, yeah, I can't say that because otherwise if I say that, chanting is much more important than everything else, someone will chant all day long and they won't do anything else. And they'll say, Maharaj said that chanting is more important than everything else, so I don't have to do anything else. But the chanting is to be qualified to do everything else. It's the foundation. It's just like a house. You can't say that the foundation is the most important part of the house, but without the foundation, there's no stability in the house. Of course, there's no house without the foundation. So the chanting is the very foundation, so we can do devotional service. It's a prerequisite. It's a necessary. So we can perform the other activities of Nava Bhakti. Nava Bhakti means the 9 activities of devotional service. And it begins with hearing, chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Includes Archanam and everything like that. So I hope that answers the question. So yeah, we have to do our chanting. Oh, I got a note from Mother Tulsi that Veda has a question. Okay, where's Veda? I didn't even see her. Is she with you? Or is she with Shruti, or who is she with?
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Rishikesh, you're back from work. What's the question?
No, yes, Guru, I just had a question about activity. We can offer the results of our activity to Krishna, but
Yeah.
what is the best way to offer the activity itself to Krishna?
Follow the orders of the spiritual master and Prabhupada's order. Prabhupada tells us the best way. The best way, if you have a family and try to engage your family in Krishna consciousness, sometimes we'll be successful, sometimes we won't be successful. Prabhupada tried to engage his family in Krishna consciousness and he tried his best, didn't work out. His wife sold his Bhagavatam for tea biscuits. So the result is up to Krishna, but we are responsible for making the endeavor. So, anyway, just follow directions of Srila Prabhupada, how to engage yourself in Krishna consciousness. That's pretty easy. So I thought you said,
Thank you, Gurudev.
but Shruti's microphone doesn't work, so she can't ask a question. So that's, oh, maybe it's in the chat window. Hold on a second, chat window, type message. Oh, okay, she'll ask later. Okay, who else has a question? It's nice to see so many people. It looks like it's working out. Oh, Atmavan. It's good to see you, Atmavan. So, what question you have? You have to unmute yourself.
All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, I have a question regarding someone. There was this 14-year-old boy, and he committed suicide. He drank something, but while he was dying, he realized that he wanted to live. So, but he was dying, and a Muslim lady instructed him to chant Hare Krishna. And while chanting Hare Krishna, he passed away. So, is he coming back to Godhead?
He will take a human birth in his next life. Actually, because he's chanting, it's something like the story of a Jamil. Everybody knows the story of a Jamil. He was chanting God's name at the time of death. A Jamil did not go back to Godhead immediately. He had to actually purify himself later on by performing austerities, but he became freed from the Yamadutas. So he was freed from the bad reaction of committing suicide. But he will get an opportunity to perform devotional service by the chanting of Krishna's holy name. But he hasn't gone back to Godhead, no. He's actually getting an opportunity to perform devotional service in his next life. And that's like a Jamil. Jamil was chanting Hare Krishna. I mean, he wasn't chanting Hare Krishna, he was chanting Narayan, which is the same as Hare Krishna. And he didn't go back to Godhead until he further purified himself. But that boy became free from karma. That boy became liberated. He's liberated for sure, because he was chanting the holy names of Krishna. And he's very fortunate. I mean, he shouldn't have done that. Nobody should. This body belongs to Krishna. Nobody has the right to commit suicide. Nobody has the right to use their body for any other purpose other than the purpose of the owner. Who is the owner? Does anyone know? Nobody knows. Krishna is the owner of this body. It's not our right. I mean, if you borrow someone's car, do you have a right to smash it? You can smash your own car, but the problem is you don't own anything, so don't even smash your own car. I know when I borrow someone's car, which I usually don't do, I'm more careful than when I'm driving my own car, because it's someone else's car. Much more careful. So the point is that we're actually driving this body which belongs to Krishna, so we have a specific responsibility to take care of it. Okay. Just one more question. Okay, Krunamai, you have a question? No? It's good to see you. Krunamai is the most expert cowgirl in the Hare Krishna movement. Her whole life is dedicated to taking care of cows. She dreams about cows and sees cows. Just like I see Krishna, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochena Janena. I see Krishna everywhere. She sees cows everywhere. In her heart of hearts. Because she's going back to Godhead. That's what they do in the spiritual world. They take care of cows. They don't drive tractors. They don't drive, what else? Uh-oh.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Gurudev.
All right. Yeah, who's asking a question? Sounds like Subu.
Yes, Gurudev, it's me. It's me, Gurudev.
Okay, ask your question.
Okay. We know that, in case of Bali Maharaj, and when Krishna took everything from him in 2 steps, and
Yeah.
he has nothing left with him. Then Krishna said, where shall I put my third step? Then he said, on me. I fully surrender unto you.
Right.
So in Bali Maharaj, Krishna took everything from him, then he fully surrendered. So but that will happen to all of us, same way.
Same way?
No, not
You
same
think it's
way.
going to happen to you? No, but in a different way. Yeah, Krishna will just take everything away from us, and then the only thing left will be to surrender to Krishna. But he won't necessarily step on our head. Yeah, Krishna will gradually Yashaham Anugranami Harisheta Danam Shanai. Krishna says, for those who I especially favor, I take away things gradually, not too painfully, not at the same time. You understand?
Yes.
Yashaham Anugranami Harisheta Danam Shanai. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean Krishna is going to take everything material away from you. Krishna is going to take everything that's an impediment away from you. Not everything. If Krishna took everything away from us, we wouldn't be able to do his service. But Krishna is going to take away everything that interferes with our service. Just like Prabhupada, what did Krishna take away from Prabhupada? You know?
His job.
His job, his money, his family, everything.
Yes.
Because that was an impediment. But for other people, the job and the money are actually part of the service to Krishna. So Krishna will not take away things that are useful for serving him. They're not impediments. And Krishna will give you everything that you can use in his service. Okay. On that happy note, I think we should end now. It's good to see everyone. Especially happy to see Karunamayi. So I think this is a good time because actually she's in the UK and it's between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, the class. So it's almost doable for the UK people. And the Fiji people it's good for, and the Australian people and New Zealand people it's good for, and the US people it's good for. I mean, I think this is pretty much a good time for almost anybody except for those in the middle of Europe. Okay, and India. It's not a good time for India. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Premananda Hari.